Hello and welcome back to College Algebra, MAT 150. In this video we will be evaluating a function using a formula or graph from section 1.2. With any function f of x, what is inside the parentheses is what is plugged into the formula if there is one. Alright, so if we have f of x, so we have a formula in this case, so we're away from those other more exotic examples, and this is more along the lines of stuff we'll be looking at. And remember, another thing, f of x is replaceable with y. We'll come back to that. But f of x equals 2x plus 1, and we want to evaluate the function. So if we see f of 1, what do we do? Well, the formula is 2x plus 1, so every time we see x, we just replace it with 1. And then we look at the terms, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1, and then we have 2 plus 1 is 3. So writing this more directly, if we plug in 1, we get out 3. All right, you could stop here. I'm just being extra explicit here. What about the next thing? F of negative 3. Well, in a similar sense to what we did here, we're just going to plug in negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 plus 1. Well, 2 times negative 3 is a term, plus 1 is another. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, plus 1. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So I plugged in negative 3, and what did I get out? Negative 5. So this idea is simple. But what about f of a? Well, when we saw 1, we replaced it with 1. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to place x with a. So 2 times a plus 1. And I really just did that for emphasis to show you it's the same process, but you don't really need to do it like that. It's 2a plus 1. Basically, instead of looking at f of x, we're looking at f of a. So it doesn't really matter what we have in here. Whatever we see, we plug in. And this leads us to the next part. What do we do here? Well, if we had 1, what did we do? We plugged it in. But instead now, we have 3r plus 4. So instead of, again, if there was 1, we'd plug in 1 right there. But instead now we're plugging in 3r plus 4. And what does this sort of scream to do? There's no exponents, so we don't have to do that. We can multiply, which means distribute. And we have 3r times 2 is 6r. 2 times 4 is 8. And we still have this plus 1 kind of hanging out. 8 plus 1 is 9. So altogether, this simplifies to be 6r plus 9. So what is f of 3r plus 4? So if we plug in 3r plus 4, we get out 6r plus 9. And again, just for extra emphasis, this may seem cheesy, but no matter what, if we have stuff, or as I like to usually say, garblygook, no matter what we have, if we have garblygook, what do? We plug in garblygook. It doesn't matter. Whatever's on the inside of the function, that's what's being plugged into the function. Okay? Just for emphasis. All right. So, given the graph of f below, so we're going to call this the graph of a function. We'll talk about how to find graphs here in a little bit. What can we do to help evaluate functions given the graph? So above, if we're trying to evaluate a function, we just plug it in if we have the formula like we plugged in 1, negative 3a, 3r plus 4, whatever. But what if we're trying to evaluate f of 1 and f negative 1 just looking at the graph? We don't have a formula. Well, remember that y is interchangeable with f of x. So x is what's on the inside. So what we plug in on the inside, this is what we get out. And remember, from points, we plug in an x value, we get out a y value. Because for functions, y and f of x are interchangeable, we could just say x f of x. So I look for the x value and I look for the output along the graph. So if I plug in 1, so again, this is the x-axis. Where is 1? This is 1 right here. what is the y value? Excuse me. What is the y value? Well, the y value, so this is the y-axis, and it's right here. The point here is if you are at 1, you have 0 for the y output. So f of 1 equals 0. What about f of negative 1? So if we go back 1 to negative 1 right here, where's the graph at? Well, we just go up until we get to it. So what is this point? Negative 1, 2. So what is the output of negative 1? It's 2. All right, and this is how to evaluate either using a graph, a function using a graph, or with formulae. This concludes this part of section 1.2.